more seconds. That book is called Chop Wood, Carry Water. That's another book. So that was our men's senior team. That was their team book last year. It was also like San Francisco Giants, like Diamondbacks, I don't know, like 12 professional teams. That was like their team book last season. Like a bunch of teams decided to go with it. I talked to the author a little bit last year, and he's a really good guy and like super supportive of these movements. There's something else to recommend. It's another one of those easy books that's like you can go chapter by chapter with a high school team to read, and like it's super easily digestible, you know, to take apart.
Sorry.
All right, hey, so resource time, okay? Resource time, I want you guys to look at this. So if you're on the USA Water Polo website, all right? And I go over to programs, all right? I click over to programs. Once I click on programs, you'll see professional development and education. Okay, so gonna be more straightforward, all right? I clicked over to that, I go to professional development, and then all these things start coming up that we were talking about. So I'll start with the easy ones, like strength and conditioning, right? Once I click on strength and conditioning, all those articles I had on that I clicked on my slide there are there. You click on these, there's videos with all our shoulder movements, core movements, warm-ups, all that good stuff. Someone's asking me about strength and conditioning earlier specifically, right? This is a good place to go for that, okay? All those videos are there. One more thing. Then we talked about college a lot, right? It's going to be somewhere else. Let me go back to college. If I go back to programs, there's professional development, what we're doing here. But if I wanted to go to the college stuff, and I go to sport development programs, College Corner, right? That my talk is here on a webinar, and then there's all these articles that we had for here. It's called Shooting for College. So every subject that we have in that thing, where it goes like, what's the difference between an official visit and unofficial visit, right? There's an article on that. How to contact coaches, it's on that. Everything from some of our experts, and then someone else asked me, you want to do when we've done the work for you. And this is really important because I think back in the day, only Water Polo Planet had done this for the first time like 20 years ago, was aggregate all the colleges in one place, right? So you have a student, athlete at your high school, and you're like, where are all the women's programs, where are they, right? You just click that, and then you have a full list, right, of every women's program, every junior college. There's a junior college directory, there's the name of the college, and direct links back to their website, phone number of the coach, it's all in there. So you don't have to like, where do I find women's college water polo programs? It's all there. And I have an intern that updates this as coaches change and as they come and go, right? Sometimes that happens faster than we can move, but it'll be as updated as we possibly can. So a directory for all the college stuff here, all right? So all the information from the talk, all the directories are there, and then I know you guys want to have some local resources. Coach Plackett, you want to say real quick, you have something on the 24th you wanted to mention, yes?
Yeah, a reminder to everybody, our event on the 24th, it's a Monday night to try to fit with no swim meets or league practices. Naperville Central High School, front door will be unlocked into the library. It's free, and it's 90 minutes. Send your athletes, send them with a parent, and we do a deep dive into most of the stuff that you went through. We'll do even a little deeper dive into that. Coaches are absolutely welcome to attend as well. There is no cost. We do it because we like doing it for kids.
That's great. And so given the context of what we talked about this morning, right, and having the backdrop for you guys as coaches, getting your athletes now in front of this stuff is important, right? So you should have the motivation, and everyone should play in college, right? Everyone's playing college, everyone should be there, get this information, and this is part of what we're doing as we grow the sport, right? So, because if you guys have questions, now you know where to go to it for that, okay? Now we're back to that college was under sport development programs. Now if you go to professional development and education, I talked about strength and conditioning. There's some positive coaching. That's where you can find the flush the mistake under the PCA stuff in there. We talked about Coach Clute and the coaching manual he put in. Someone asked, well, where do I put in the coaching manual? Well, here it is, right? All you gotta do, again, go back on professional development, click coaching manual, and then you download it right here. And this coaching manual is, like we said, I think full of a lot of the information we've covered and more. right? And I can't tell, this is a wealth of information that's been aggregated from top water polo coaches around the world and domestically and for us. And so I think a lot of people contribute on this thing, so take advantage of it, right? This is something that's easily found and easily used. I talked to you guys about the High Performance Coach YouTube channel, right? There's a YouTube channel. You can subscribe. Most of you have smartphones. I still have a flip phone, I don't know about you guys, right? But if you have a smartphone, all right, and you can download this app called YouTube, subscribe to High Performance, the High Performance Education YouTube channel, you'll find all these talks, right? There's actually a really good talk from Coach Layson from 2014 or 15, where we talked about planning and culture and, right? And what is it? En mano izquierda, en mano derecha, see? Okay? Yeah, we talked about, the right and the left hand and how it works together, and coach, it's really good stuff, it's really good stuff, I thought. I still remember it 6 years later, right? So it's good to have some guys like Jack Bowen, I think is a really good resource in terms of like how he develops his team culture. There's a couple of goalkeeper talks, I got questions in here, like how you develop goalkeepers. There's videos in here with a bunch of goalkeeper stuff, right? That you can find. Coach Brian Alexander has done a lot of the sports psychology stuff for us. We talked about you don't have to go hire a sports psychologist if you want to use some of these resources, right, that are there. There's a really good development from Gabriel Martinez on how to develop like age groups. He goes through like 10s and 12s. He's the Commerce Club water polo coach. He talks about how he develops athletes from 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, all the way to being college players. I think he does a great job of that. And there's even Dejan Savic, who's the head Serbian coach, gold medal winning Serbian coach from the last Olympics. We got him to come to Cal a few years ago, and he takes a deep kind of dive into movements and 5-on-6 and some really good stuff in there as well. So again, that's just a real brief highlight. There's that 5 takeaways article, right, that you guys have in your folders, right? So I did an interview with Coach Kokornia, right, that went through that whole article that I just sent you. We filmed this in Budapest while we were together, Coach Klug, myself, and the team of what we did. All right, and I think there's some good stuff in there. Again, you can listen to that. Okay, so then the biggest other thing that everyone was talking about is a mobile coaching app to find these videos. Okay, so you click on mobile coaching app, and then here's a step-by-step. As you click on the mobile coach app here, it takes you down. It'll say mobile coach resources step-by-step instructions. Okay, I had again someone more clever than myself create screenshots to do of how to get the app going for yourself. So if you need to download the app on your phone, in the App Store, it's under the United States Olympic Committee, so it's the Team USA app. So the app is actually operated by the US Olympic Committee. And the reason why they do this as a service for all NGBs, but it gives you a couple of sets of resources. So I'm skipping some steps, I've logged in, you can actually use it on a website, it's not just an app. So once you log in and you register and you use the step-by-step instructions, your USA Water Polo membership number gives you this for free. And then the cool thing is you get their Olympic Committee resources. So this stuff is going beyond just water polo. They have their sport, all kinds of stuff. There's more strength and conditioning. There's more sports psychology. Actually, one of the coolest things I think they have in here is the nutrition resources. Because you can click on nutrition resources and they'll have like smoothie recipe of the week, right? And you can, if you do it on your phone, you can hit share. They'll have the share button. You can like, if you have like a WhatsApp or a GroupMe or what are the other coaching apps that you guys are using to communicate with your teams, right? You can text out recipe of the week. Hey, you can have your smoothie of the week, recipe of the week. All this is the US Olympic Committee resources. And then on top of that, then once you pick water polo, USA Water Polo is part of this, then you get your water polo specific stuff. So I've made this so that like, hey, if you don't want to carry around a rule book, we put all the rule books in here, NFHS, NCAA, everything. So you get an argument with the referee, you can go straight to your phone and look for the rule book right there, okay? There's some club administration resources, a lot of those same videos we talked about. There's a great body positioning series of videos here that was put together by Terry Schroeder and a couple of benefactors that we had over there. There's a guy that actually, I think, did you coach him? Coach Layson, Christo, the Montenegrin, UCLA.
I didn't coach him, but he was around after.
Yeah. So this was filmed with him. He does an incredible job of kind of demonstrating some of these like basic body positioning stuff, like proper chest and body positioning.
Once your legs are in position, you want to slightly lean forward. you want your chest to be facing down towards the bottom of the toe. This will allow you, when you accelerate
kind of
your
perfect body
legs,
positioning.
for your momentum to be transferred forward into your shooting motion, which will generate more power into your shot. Leaning forward puts you off balance.
So I can get geeked out watching this. There's a whole series of these body positioning stuff you can watch, and then all these drills that we were talking about before. So there were questions that came up on like defensive drills and warm-ups. Well, I'll combine two of those into one answer. You want to know what warm-up to do with your team? You want to set block warm-up, like warm-up 1, warm-up 2, warm-up 3, warm-up 4? Okay, here's warm-up. I'll give you warm-up 1 right now. Warm-up 1 should be, this is in alphabetical order, should be defensive movements 1. This should be warm-up 1 for your team at some point in their season, right? If they can go through this stuff as warm-up 1, this is phenomenal. Just like an aggregation of a lot of the same stuff that a lot of people have put together. We'll now go through a series of defensive movements that should be done on a daily basis in training. You may recognize it later in warm-ups. This is a great substitute for traditional swimming with goggles and lane lines. Instead, forcing athletes to use their legs and get into water polo movements that they will use in game situations. The first we'll look at is a forward lunge. Here, we want athletes to keep their head up with a consistent breaststroke kick behind them. Reaching is
You'll see a lot of this stuff in the development.
We film this at Los Alamitos.
Here, we want our players to cover as much ground as possible, continuously use that breaststroke kick, and reach for the ball. The key here is how much ground can the athletes cover as they go over their hips.
Fourth, you'll notice when we don't have time to watch them all, right? But it's kind of engaging. It's a little mesmerizing once it starts because you're talking about Maddie Musselman, Maggie Steffens, Kylie Nuschel. Some of the people who are demonstrating these drills are some of the most athletic women that ever play the sport period and ever will play the sport period, right? So the fact that we've captured on video and I'm giving it to you now, and I know this because I'm intimate knowledge of our pipeline and what's happening in the rest of the world. We are lucky to be watching our women play water polo at the level they are right now. This is a unique situation. We have some incredible athletes that frankly could have been Olympians in some other sports as well, right? And they just, thank God they chose water polo, right? And they're helping us out right now. Warm up 1, warm up 2, use these defensive movements. I think it's great. Because now you're combining two things at once. Drew's talking about time, you're wasting time, right? Well, now let's go over defense in our warm up. But they got their legs warm, they got their arms warm, and they went through all these movements, and we learned technical skills we learned at the same time. Holy smokes, that's as efficient as it gets, right? Now you're 20 minutes into practice, and you've covered 5 really important things. So answer your questions about how to access this stuff, right? Step by step. It's all there. And again, it doesn't need to be the app, the iPad. It works on an iPad, it works on a phone. It can even be used on the website, as you can see, with it all being here right now. In terms of accessing, a lot of people have these questions well in the cards. Have I answered anything else I can answer about accessing these resources? These free resources? No? Okay, awesome. And college information, college talks, all this stuff, it's all out there, okay? Please, and don't be shy about passing this around. If somebody says, hey, where can I find water polo resources? We're not like, oh, you better go to this USA Water Polo Conference, just give it to them. We want this out there. The reason we created this stuff is so it can go viral and get it everywhere and everywhere that it can be, right? We have a lot of states represented. We have people from Michigan, Ohio, Missouri, Illinois, all here right now. 4 states covered. So imagine if everybody went back to their states as leaders in their states and got this to their governing bodies in their states. Now we've covered 4.
Pennsylvania.
PA's here, right? PA's in the house, right? Maryland. Jeez, okay, 6 states, right? 6 states. Forgot about PA, Germantown Academy, right? I've been there a few times. That's awesome. I mean, look at that. In a short amount of time, we hit 6 states, okay? And we can make this happen. And one day, Ashley will make Indiana a water polo powerhouse for us across the board there in Indianapolis. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give it to these guys. So, as I pass these along. Coach Layson, how much time would you suggest we commit to scrimmaging versus drills as you balance practice planning and time, particularly at the high school level here? On the spot. Sheesh.
How long is the practice? 2 hours?
Yep.
Okay. If you're going to do drills for that long, you're going to lose it's just kind of boring. So I think that the thing that the players want to do the most is the scrimmage. And so I think a significant portion of the practice should be dedicated to actual real game type stuff. When we say scrimmage, we don't just necessarily mean, hey, throw the balls in and let's go. although an element of that is good. Scrimmage could mean 4-on-4. It could mean stagger, counterattack drill like we talked about yesterday. It could be a situational type game where there's 2 minutes left, or you create a hypothetical situation. It could be a really fun game like your B team plays against your A team and they have 4 minutes to score 3 goals, and vice versa, so you create competitive type environments. Athletes learn a lot from actually playing the game, and learning by playing it's a real thing. So I cannot tell you the exact amount of time, because it depends on what phase of the training you're in, and it depends on what particular skill you're working on. But I would say 45 minutes in a 2-hour practice, 45 minutes, sometimes longer, maybe sometimes a little bit shorter, but definitely a significant portion of the practice.
Excuse me. I guess I'll mention one thing about the small-sided ball, right? So when he says 45 minutes, that doesn't also have to mean 7-on-7, right? And front court offense, front court defense. I can tell you one direction that we're moving in, which again, water polo I think has been very much behind on in relation to other sports, is small-sided ball. And Drew and I have been talking about this a lot with our group, and you'll see this. So we hosted Dare to Dream festivals in January. If you heard of these, it's like these are 10 and under, 12 and under tournaments. We had a couple in California. We had one in Texas going on, and I mandated the format at the tournament to be 5-on-5 for these younger age groups, 10s and 12s. 5-on-5 meaning a goalie and 4 field players, total of 5. And so with a smaller course, 20 yards, 15 yards maximum. So you're talking about 15 yards, 4 field players going back and forth. We did a few numbers, ran a few analysis on this. The amount of times the athletes touched the ball in the the 4 field players touched the ball grew by 800% versus when they played 7-on-7. This is us being slow. Soccer coaches have figured this out a long time ago, right? Like when they play 11-on-11, normal, I'm talking European football, soccer, right? Those players aren't touching the ball often. But when they're in practice, they're playing a lot of small-sided ball because they have to be on their feet. Otherwise, they're standing around a lot, right? The amount of times they touch the ball. So now take that analysis down. Are those athletes more engaged? Are they having more fun? When they left the pool as a 12 or 13-year-old, they're saying, man, that was a lot. I want to play water polo tomorrow, right? That means something. So then you can take that down and then you can take it up. Your players that are at the college level, your players at the high school level, right? The small-sided ball could be a part, it could be a station. It was shallow in pool. Someone recommended putting the two goals in the deep side. You could have a 4-on-4, all right? Small ball station in the deep end, swimming the water polo, swimming and sprints and conditioning in the shallow end, legs in the middle, and now you've engaged 25 people, right? In this end, you've got your scrimmaging in, and you've got your technical work, and you've got your conditioning work all in one place. But small-sided ball has to be something that we're all doing, and your facilities lend itself to that, right? It lends itself to that. Okay, coaches. Do you share practice plans and your practice focus with your athletes before practice? How do you share practice plan information? And if so, how far in advance? Or what are some techniques you use for sharing practice plans?
Go ahead. I'll share mine.
No, not really. I think we don't share it ahead of time, that's for sure. And in part, we don't maybe have it prepared ahead of time. We're teachers and, but we for sure have a pre-practice meeting. We rarely just, they show up, their suits on, we jump in the pool and go. We'll have at least like a 5-8 minute meeting. Maybe it's, if we're watching film, obviously it's longer, but we just tell them, here's the practice plan, here's the goals of today, here's what we're working on, so at least you kind of front load them a little bit with that information, but that's how we do.
There's certain players on the team that really, really want to know bad what's gonna happen, right? They're just like impending doom. I want to know, and then there's other guys who are like, I don't want to know, especially if they know it's going to be a conditioning practice, or like the night they're like trying to find the soft shoulder they can go to among the coaching staff to figure out which is the coach that's going to tell them the exact swim set we're doing tomorrow, if that's the case. So I think it depends on the player. We definitely share our overall plan, keeping in line with this whole method. We share the plan before practice with our team, definitely. Not necessarily any sooner than that.
When I was coaching college for a while, I created a practice template that's actually on the app that I shared on the app. So if you go to, if I hit backspace on this thing, so look, this is you're gonna get 3 different answers from 3 different coaches right now, right? So I'll give you what I did when I was there. Clicked here, coaches resources, since it's up, resources. Let's see if we can find it quick. Yeah, practice template. Bless you. Yeah, there it is. And so I threw up a practice template together while we were there, and I would post this every day in the locker room before practice. The formatting got a little screwed up, but this should be on top, where it says daily practice schedule on top. Delete the USA Water Polo logo, put your logo on there, right? It would say UC Davis, it would say, you know, Lincoln Way West, you know, say New Trier, whatever you want it to say here, put your logo on there. Date, you know, this is how old this is, 09, right? So this is 11 years ago I put this together, but practice, if you want to have a practice player of the day from the day before, right? So you want to acknowledge someone who worked really hard on practice the day before, we put it there. I always had a quote at the bottom, right? Somewhere, just the quote of the week, quote of the month, like going back to sports psychology. And then this is how I structured practice, right? And we would put times. And sometimes I'd say if practice started at 4 o'clock, it'd be like 4 o'clock, we're having our team meeting. And then I'd put the time when we start. Or you can say we're gonna do 10 minutes of this, 15 minutes of that, 20 minutes of this, and it would help structure. And I'd post it in the locker room just to give those anxiety-ridden athletes a way to plan ahead and know what's going on. But I also would throw curveballs at them a lot because they can't be fixed. They can't be blocked all the time, right? Like, so I'd have it on there, and then I'd do something different. And they'd say, well, coach, that wasn't in the locker room. Where am I going to do that? I'm like, yeah. Well, guess what? Things are going to get variable in a game, right? So we have to be ready to adjust. The other fun thing I'll say quickly too, at the end, I'd put notes on this, because a lot of you have your teachers, your high school coaches, right? So you have to tell them, booster club money is due Friday. Bus leaves at 2 p.m. Wednesday, right? We're wearing white t-shirts for team uniform for our Saturday tournament, right? That's normal information that you need to share with your team. So I put it on here, right? So while they're in the locker room, they're chatting. Okay, all right, practice is at 3 tomorrow. You know, I gotta wear my white shirt. So that's like something they can see. And to make sure they were reading it, I would schedule a morning practice that I knew I was gonna cancel. And then I'd write on there, right? Morning practice canceled on Friday, right? Like, oh, it was like on the full calendar and say morning practice canceled for a Friday morning. And then it was canceled, right? I wouldn't say anything about it except leave it on the notes. And when 3 people are texting me at 5:45, coach, the locker room's locked, I can't get in, it's Friday morning. I'd say, hey, practice was canceled, you didn't read the notes, right? You can see it. So just something that, we all gave 3 different answers, right? But it's not a bad thing for, depending on your athlete, to be able to use this. Coach Lacy, you talked about culture. When do you remove people from the team culture? What's the line that you draw for how you keep your culture going when you have toxic people contributing to it? And how do you go about it?
That's a great question. That's subjective. I think that it becomes, if your culture is strong, it becomes evident, like who's not really a part of the group, who's kind of on the periphery, or who's really like continuing to make mistakes that are related to your team rules, your code of conduct, or your core values. There's just a pattern, and when somebody is repeatedly just messing up, just can't get it right, can't figure out what he's supposed to do, can't stay healthy, always missing practice, can't remember to go to academic meetings, late for weights, just everybody else on the team is like, and they're looking at me like, and I'm looking at them like, you know, and we just look at each other and then we move. No, I'm just kidding. You know, but it eventually comes to a point where there's repeated discussions. There's probably some steps that are taken in terms of, okay, this guy's swimming today in terms of punishment, and is he going to swim a swim set? You know, how many times are you going to be able to do it for? It's like, well, now you're suspended. Okay, and now you're out. And I'm keeping a discipline file on, listing all of the things, because inevitably that stuff, especially for you guys, where the parents are heavily involved, I suggest that you document everything. Because the parents are gonna think, my kid's an angel, and you're gonna be like, you're not here during the day, you don't see what's going on, and here are all the violations of our code of conduct that this player has committed. He can't be a part of the group anymore. So I suggest that you document as much as possible, and then it really becomes almost a formality, the final conversation, and usually that player knows a lot of the time that he's probably out.
Yeah, just I think you have parent meetings before like the start of your season. I think outlining like what a privilege it is to be a part of the group and your core values, your coaching core values, expectations, that kind of stuff. Like you lay the groundwork. I don't know if I've ever kicked a kid out, really. I mean, kicked a kid out of practice and punished and all that stuff, but removed from the program, I don't know. I think it's hard to do that at the high school level because they're kids still. College, way different game. And so I think it'd be pretty egregious, have to be pretty bad. Definitely keeping a punishment file or a kind of infractions file. And then the last thing I'll just say is be proactive. Don't because usually if the kid is a jerk, the parents might be jerks. Yeah, apple doesn't fall, too far. And so sometimes at the end of the day, you're tired, you don't want to have that conversation but just call the parent, email the parent, and set up a meeting with your athletic director maybe, or for sure with an assistant coach there. But just be proactive with the conversations, because even though you have that file, just being an administrator on the academic side, the next question when Coach Layson says, here's all the infractions of your son, blah, 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 the parent's gonna say, why didn't you tell me about it ahead of time? There's a reason why we send quarter grades home. We have to, if the student's in danger of failing, we have to make contact home with the parent. I mean, it's those things. So it just saves your butt at the end, because you can't prevent crazy. If your parents are crazy, they're crazy, but at least you have this really logical path that you follow. Yeah.
The one thing I understand where everybody's coming from when we're, treading softly when we come to parents and stuff like that. But what I tell parents at the beginning of the season, it really does make a difference, because what I say is that, and I tell the athletic director the same way, if they don't want me to coach, I won't. You have to trust the coach in the process. And you also have to tell the kids, this isn't school. You don't have to be here. This isn't, there's nothing here that you have to, there's nothing here that makes you be here. I'm not pleading with you to be here.
Yeah.
But if you can't follow the rules,
Absolutely.
why should a coach go to a high school student's parent to talk to an extracurricular activity? It's not something that they have to do, it's what they want.
It's a privilege, yeah.
So it's got to be their responsibility. For me, it's got to be their responsibility to take care of it, not their parents.
I'm assuming that, and this is speaking as a high school educator, I'm assuming that all of us in this room were adults, right, by age defined, and we all have a certain level of maturity and discipline and all these things, but we didn't always. So we learned these at some point, and dealing with 14-year-olds to 17-year-olds, that's when you learn that. And so the role that I play in developing young men and women of character is different than what Dan plays when he's dealing with young adult men. I mean, he's dealing with 22-year-olds, seniors. I mean, that's way different than a 14-year-old. And so you can have those conversations with athletes and treat them a little different. I mean, he's still developing. I mean, that 22-year-old in a few short years might be a father or something. And although I've had high school athletes that are fathers too, but but the point being is they're little kids when they're with me, and they're young men within him, and hopefully we're tag teaming this development of a young person.
Drew,
Yeah.
real quick, you also need to check if you're a high school coach with the culture of your athletic department and administration, because some athletic departments will not allow you to kick a kid off, right? You kind of got to check with that culture of your school as well, not just like what I want at the high school level.
That's a good point. The other thing I would say is there are very few things that will galvanize and bring together your group, like getting rid of somebody. I'm serious. I don't mean that like this person. If I try to help the athletes as much as I possibly can, like almost to a fault at some point. I love seeing people come around and really start to get it, join the group, and becoming upstanding members, and wow, we can talk about this guy's personal growth story at the banquet, what a model he is for how you develop in this program. But then, what ends up, so with that attitude, you end up spending so much time agonizing over one player, and so much time losing sleep over one player, and the rest of the guys who are just killing it and towing the line, they're missing out because you're devoting so much time to that one player. And you agonize over the decision, you agonize and you agonize, and you finally make the decision, and the next day that guy's not there, and it's like, this is great. And it does not take long for your team to forget about that player. Within a week or so, depending on who it is, And everybody is behaving in a different manner after you make that move.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line as we wrap this up, I think Drew said it best, is being proactive, right? So you gotta know your school rules, you gotta know your culture, but anytime we're proactive, like anytime we're reactive in any sort of cultural situation, you are behind the eight ball. If you're trying to develop a positive team culture by reacting, and you're only reacting to these negative situations, you're just digging a deeper hole, right? When we're proactive about it and establishing standards, then you kind of get ahead of this stuff, right? So I thought that was really well said. I mean, just being proactive and knowing what's going on is there. And you do have the luxury on the college level, which is different than the high school level, which is different than the national team levels, you know, as well as across the board, and how to deal with people. But there's the old quote of addition by subtraction. That is a valuable quote to have as well. So I'm a very sensitive to time, because when people have flights and drives and things like that, we said we would end at 2. We have a hard exit time here of 2:30 to make our flights too, but at the same time, I want to wrap up, and if any have any lingering questions or discussions we can have over the next half hour while we're packing our bags and you have together while we're here and while we're cleaning up. But again, I think I can speak on behalf of all of us. We're going home thrilled about this and excited to have been here, and appreciate you guys coming, and thank you guys for continuing to do what you do for young people in America via the sport of water polo, and we want to keep growing this all together. So thank you.
If any of you have a question that did not get answered here and you would like to explore the possibilities of a response, please don't